Hi, and welcome to Hear the Rare Voices of the DIPG community. My name is Rachna Prasad. On today's episode, we have Yury and Nathan, who were my brother's best friends. They had been friends since they were all very young and never left Mithil's side through his battle with DIPG. We always talk about the family of the child that passes from DIPG, but I thought it would also be interesting to hear another version of this story. When you're so young, losing a best friend is unimaginable and seems completely impossible. In episode 10, we hear Nathan and Yury talk about their fond memories of Mithil and the lasting impact of Mithil's passing. So, can you both describe your relationship with Mithil before he was diagnosed?
For me, I met Mithil in after school in kindergarten, and it was just at that age, at like 5 years old, we didn't. It was just being like we were just friends, and it was I don't know how to. It was the most innocent kind of relationship that one could have, in that we would go to each other's houses, and we were at that age where we were still learning a lot about the world, but we thought that we knew everything about the world, and so we were just kind of stubborn little kids, but having the best time. So yeah, we met in like kindergarten, and we pretty much stayed close ever since then.
Yeah, pretty similar to me. I met Mithil in first grade, and I remember the first time I met him, he was new to our class, and I didn't like him because he was new. Uh, and then, I like maybe a week later, we were really good friends. At that point, I mean, Mithil had a really good way of becoming friends with everybody, but we hit it off pretty well. And we were pretty close most of elementary school. And actually, the reason that I went to the middle school I went to is because I was following him over there. Uh,
Yeah.
and yeah, similar to what Nathan said, I mean, it was childhood friendship. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, guys. I love hearing about your memories of him too. I think that's really nice. And then I guess kind of moving forward, what do you remember about like finding out about Mithil's diagnosis? I know you both were Mithil's age, which was still pretty young. And is there anything that you remember about that time that really stood out to you or anything?
Um, for me, I remember knowing before he passed. I remember knowing he had he was sick and that he had something, but I didn't know that. I think the biggest thing was I didn't know that it was cancer. I just thought that it was an illness, and I thought that it was something temporary, something not that big, something that he would like in in middle school. He was still able to walk and talk, and he was he was going to chemo, and you could see things like loss of hair, and his certain things were changing. He was getting a little bit tired more quickly, but I just thought that that was from some medicine that he was taking, and he just had some you know some some sickness that was like maybe gonna last a couple months maybe. But i I remember finding out that it was cancer, like I think couple months, not a couple months, maybe a year before he had passed away. And that was when I kind of got that was when he was slow. We could see more effects of what was going on. And yeah, it was, I remember, just it being kind of hard to think, why is this happening to someone who very obviously doesn't deserve it. And yeah, it's just as a younger, we were both 12 and 13, me, Yuri, and Mithil. And it was, you hear about it, but you never would have thought that someone close to you, cancer was only something that I saw like old people get. I never would have thought someone that young would have gotten it.
Yeah.
I just remember being confused because Mithil and I were going to middle school, and one day he just wasn't back at school. And I'd heard that he was sick, and that's why he wasn't there. And of course, the first thing that comes to your mind when you're that young and you hear somebody's sick is, well, they're going to get better, right? I mean, you have faith in modern medicine that you have a problem, but it gets fixed, right? Um, and like Nathan, I didn't know it was cancer at the time. And I would visit Mithil, and I was always so concerned because we were optimistic, and he was always optimistic. And but it didn't look like things were getting better, and they were just getting worse. And I could not, for the life of me, understand what was happening to my friend. Um, and yeah, the side effects they were pretty bad. The worst part for me was when he couldn't talk anymore, and it was terrible because I remember that was the best thing I liked about Mytha was the trouble we would get into by talking to each other. Um, yeah, and the relationship changes because of that. It's hard to see somebody that you know go through that, especially at such a young age, because you look at what's going on with them, and then you look at what's going on with yourself, and you realize there's a huge difference there, and all the things you're going to experience that you know they're missing out on. But you have that hope that things are going to get better. And I mean, until I got that call, I thought things were going to get better. I mean, I really truly believe that it was just a stage, and that maybe the worse things got, the better they would turn out. And it crushed me that didn't happen.
Yeah, I remember like me and Yuri, we used to go to his house all the time, um, even before he was diagnosed. And I remember the first couple months when we went to his house, we had like a couple sleepovers, and I didn't think any of it. I didn't think anything was out of the ordinary. And then you slowly start to see, there's things are changing, and then the whole thing changes. Like even though he was still very much the same person, he was still so optimistic, and he was always making like the same jokes. He was always, doing so much to make everyone happy. It just, it was, yeah, I mean, I don't even think I can describe how it felt to be, you know, trying to do something fun, but then you just have something in the back of your head. You know, it really was different. I don't know.
No, thank you guys for sharing. I think hearing your side of the story is literally bringing tears to my eyes, but it's nice to know that he's remembered by you guys in such a great way. And it makes me really happy that he had friends like you during this entire time. And you guys were the only two that I'm sure, like everyone has told you this, that you guys were the only two he would let see him when he was sick. Like no one else came to our house during that time. But I'm glad that you guys like remember and have such fond memories of him and think of him in this way. And I guess on that note, do you think that your experience affects you today? And if so, how would you say it does?
Yuri, you want to take it, or should I go first?
I can go this time. Yeah, yeah, the experience definitely affects me today. Mainly because I feel very guilty about what happened, because I don't believe that I did enough. And I try not to blame myself, because I tell myself that I didn't know how bad things were.
Yeah.
But at this point in my life, I've seen three people die of cancer, and that's Mithil, and then two family friends that we had. And my mother's been diagnosed. It's very prevalent in my life, and just knowing that things can take a turn for the worse at any time, really it tells you that you need to make the most out of the time that you have with people. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me. But at the same time, understand that that having good health, right? To not take that for granted. That you're extremely lucky to be in the position that you are, and that some people really just don't have that opportunity. It's very prevalent.
Yeah, for me, I think it was kind of a realization. Not many people in my family had cancer. I never really knew anyone with cancer, other than Mithil. Um, and so when he passed, it was like, um, I guess it was kind of like a realization. I'm not someone who is really religious. I'm not like someone who believes in afterlife or anything, but it kind of made me realize how, you know, when when we pass, we're still, or at least memories of us are still with so many people, right? And you know, someone that young, he wasn't even 13, who could make such a big impact on so many people. And you know, it changes how you look at life. It really does. There's obviously certain points of time where, you know, for the first couple months after he had passed, I think everyone was thinking what they wish they could have done, how they wished it was, you know, why can't it be someone else? Why can't it be him? How, you know, you wish that you had gone to meet him more often, or how you could have maybe been better of a friend or something like that. But what I've realized is that he was he was such a happy person. He he always took what was given to him with a smile on his face, and he always took what was given to him with looking at how he could make this situation better. And you know, as someone, I don't, you know, nothing's wrong with me, but it really puts life into perspective, how you can live your life better. And yeah, um apart from, you know, like personal life, because of this, I've gotten more knowledge in terms of what the IPG is, and you know, how we can help kids who have this, and how we can prevent the loss of kids like Mithil. So it is a horrible situation, but it it really has it really has changed a lot of things for me.
Yeah. Thank you guys for sharing. And I hope you know that he really loved both of you a lot. And there was nothing I think that he would change about your friendship. So you never have to ever think that there was more you could have done or anything. Like, he really appreciated the two of you. Um, and then, do you still think about Mithil? And then, if you do, in what context? Or like, what comes to mind?
For me, I think about him like every day. I have like my plant that I water with this pot over there. I make sure that I think about him every single day, and it's like I said before, it's just making sure that sometimes in life, it's it it's okay to not take things seriously. Sometimes in life, it's okay to not, you know, stress out over the you know, not stress out over the little things, or not even something else. Like it's a he himself wrote, right, live life blissfully, and that's something that in the last couple of years I have taken to mind. And it's, you know, yeah, like I said, it's been a it's not been an easy couple of years, but you know, just thinking about him and who the person he was, and how what how he would have wanted us to live, really has helped me.
Yeah, I don't have a plant, unfortunately, but I do think of Mithil a lot, mainly in my experiences with struggle. Recently, I read a book by Viktor Frankl called Man's Search for Meaning, and he talks a lot about how to find meaning when your life is full of suffering, right? And I remember Mithil always looking at things in an optimistic light and trying to find the silver lining in every situation. But not only that, I mean, when you're faced with, I mean, no opportunity, right, to still be able to look at that bleak future bravely, and that's the thing, is to stare ahead bravely. That's honestly what I've gotten the most out of what Mithil's taught me. And when those kind of things happen to me, when I feel like I have like a hard situation, I think, you know, it can be harder. And I have an example of somebody who was able to really draw a terrible hand in life and still keep a stiff upper lip and persevere. That he's more of an inspiration to me than anything else.
And if there's one thing you could tell him now, what would it be?
I'm gonna let Yuri answer this one first.
I've thought about this one a lot, um, mainly because when I got that call that one night, and we all came down to see him, and I looked at him and I told him that everything was going to be all right and that things were going to be fine. And the only thing I wish I could have said in that moment was that I loved him. I wish I could have just told him I love you, Mithil. I don't know why I didn't say that, but that's the one thing I wish I could tell him right now.
He knows.
Yeah, I remember that night as well. Yeah, I remember that night and how we went there, and I remember, standing next to him, and I gave him a baseball that was like written. We used to play with the baseball, and it was just written with a bunch of words, like a bunch of, I guess, motivational quotes. But I remember wanting to say something, but I saw him, and then I saw Dasher there next to him sitting there. I saw everyone sitting there, and I just froze. I couldn't say anything, and I remember regretting that so much, not being able to say anything. Very similar to how Yury said. Um, but if there was one thing I could say to him, I think just be thank you. Just thank you for being in my life. Thank you for allowing me to be in yours. Thank you for everything you've done for everyone.
That's really sweet, you guys. I've never cried during one of these interviews, but you both are making me really teary-eyed. And my last question for both of you is, what advice would you give to someone whose friend has been diagnosed with DIPG?
Just be there for them. I think that's the biggest thing. DIPG it's a disease that not much is being done. It's getting a fraction of the of the budget that it should require. And if there's two things I can recommend you to do is volunteer for any organizations that you can, bring awareness, try and bring as much awareness to it as possible, and just be there for your friend. Because as much as this cancer is dawning on their life, they're just a kid in the end of the day, and they just want to be a kid. That's all they want to do. They just want to live their life, and they want to be with their friends, and they want to, either play video games or watch movies or piss off their parents. They just want to do all of those stuff that every little kid wants to do. And I remember, yeah, just be there for them, make them feel loved.
Yeah, I would say similar. Make the most of every moment because there aren't going to be that many left, and you want to be able to look back with a positive outlook.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. I know it's probably not easy digging up all these memories and talking about it all over again, but I really appreciate you guys taking out the time. And also just like, I feel like I've never actually talked to both of you about any of this or about Mithil and things like that. And I know you've seen my parents a few times, but it's really nice to hear you guys talk about him and a different, like, almost perspective than what I've heard, because obviously my parents and I talk about him a lot and it comes up, but I think hearing about how much he meant to you guys as a friend is just something I'm really, really glad that I was able to get to know. So thank you.
Thank you for setting this up. Thank you for giving us the
Yeah.
opportunity to tell our story.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Yury and Nathan, for speaking so openly about all of your experiences and sharing them with me. I really appreciate it. It meant so much for me to hear your memories of Mithil and how you saw him through your eyes. To our audience members, as always, please like and subscribe to our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram pages. You can also find us on all the podcasting websites as well. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out at heartherare@gmail.com. In addition, if you know someone or you yourself would like to be on the podcast, please reach out to us. And finally, for our gratitude in this week's episode, I would just like to say thank you and acknowledge all of the people affected by DIPG who we might not look at right away. It's so tough losing a best friend at any age, especially so young. And so to those who have experienced this or anything similar, just you guys are all amazing, and thank you so much for your support. It means so much to that child and also to the family. Thank you so much. And I will see you next time on Hear the Rare.